Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Faculty Lounge. We are glad you could stop by and join us today. We've had a couple little technical glitches here as we're getting started, but I think we're good to go. We are lucky enough today to have Rachel Murphy from the Canyon School District with us today, and she's going to share some really cool resources. And you can see it there on the screen. She's going to be talking about TED-Ed, which is part of the TED Talks organization. I'm going to ask Rachel to go ahead and click in. Let's just make sure her microphone's working. And if you've got a comment or a question, you can just end it there in the chat room. And Rachel, I'm going to turn my microphone off so you can have the whole floor. And in just a second, the share screen button will come up on your screen, okay?
Okay, can everybody hear me all right? No? Okay, so Tim, just want to make sure that everybody can hear me and you can see my screen. Great, I just saw the message pop up. So I'm very excited to be here today and share with you TED Talks and one of my most favorite tools, the TED-Ed platform. So I just wanted to start today by sharing with you the new website. And TED recently had a web page redesign, and it functions a little different than in the past if you were familiar with it. So I just want to share with you how I find talks on their new site. So that's where I'll start. So first of all, when you go to TED.com, you'll be on their homepage, and on the homepage you will see the highlights, the newest and the latest videos that have been posted to their website. So if you scroll down the page a little bit, you'll see today's talk, and there's a new one, The Emergent Patterns of Climate Change. There's also one, how you can get your next eye exam on a smartphone. And so lots of times I'll just visit the TED homepage to see what new talks have been posted. If you scroll down this page a little further, you'll see the newest stories, the latest stories, the conferences that are going on currently, and as well at the very bottom you have links to some of their older navigation system if you're familiar with that. So that's their homepage. Most everything that you would want to use is underneath the watch menu. And I'm just going to start one more thing on the homepage. If you go to where it says Filter Talks By, you can see that they have the newest releases showing. You can click on Most Viewed, Trending Now, Hidden Gems, or you can explore the full library. And that's where I'm going to go next, is just to click on Explore the Full Library. And the reason that I want to highlight this is on the full library, you can narrow your searches to find content that's most interesting to you. You can narrow by topic. So not only do they suggest topics for you, but you can enter your own topics. You can search for events, specific events that are going on, and they suggest a few events you might want to look at. You can sort by content that has been um, uh, subtitled in another language, which might be really great for special world language type classes. And the one section that I like to use a lot is the rating section. So for example, if you look at some of the categories and how they've rated the talks, I often like to come down to the beautiful talks. A lot of them are nature talks and are very graphical, image-based talks. And you can just see a lot of music talks. You can just scroll through, and it's just a nice way to browse the content that's there. So for example, if you go to page 2, and if you scroll down to this one talk, Psychedelic Science, caught my eye. So I'm just going to open this up and I'm going to play a little bit of it just so you can see on your screen what the talk looks like. Know that your sound won't project through the sound on the Adobe Connect, but just so you can kind of see a little bit of what the talk looks like. So this is just the logo that's starting all the TED Talks, have this introductory clip on it. And many of the science talks have incredible nature graphics that are worth coming back to watch later. Let's see if I can just scrub ahead just a little bit here. And the other thing that I wanted to point out with some of the science talks and why I think they're so fascinating is a lot of them will actually demonstrate how you can make graphics like this yourself or how you can do the experiments that they're looking at. So a lot of them today that I share with you will be those kinds of talks that you could bring back into your classroom or your specific teaching situation. So right here you can see as we scrub through the video, he actually demonstrates how you could recreate this type of photography on your own. So those are pretty neat. All right, let's go back to the watch section. And the second thing I wanted to point out are the TEDx Talks. So you have these two library of talks. You first have TED.com and then you have TEDx Talks. And TEDx events are locally sponsored events. So they're events that take place in communities and are sponsored fully through the TED.com organization. And you can browse underneath attend a TEDx event to find local events. You can organize your own TEDx events, and the second link down there will show you how to organize your own event. And then you can just learn more about the TEDx program on that third link down. And at the top, or not the top, I'm sorry, if you click on the Explore the TEDx Library button, it'll bring you to a page where now you can actually search for specific events if you knew an event that had happened recently. So this fall we had an event in Utah called TEDx CSD Teachers. And if you're curious to see what some of the local Salt Lake community presented on, you can find all of our recent talks here. If you go to page 2, you can even find UEN's very own Jared Kovili's talk. So that's how you can find local events and learn more about hosting your own event is underneath the TED.com page and watch. So the third thing I want to show you on this page before we go to TED-Ed videos are playlists. So the playlists are curated content, curated lists, I should say, of videos that are sometimes curated by TED and sometimes curated by guest people. So if you find it hard to locate talks around a certain topic, this might be the place that you prefer to start. And if you scroll down here, you'll see that they've highlighted, they like to do that, they highlight on all of their pages different content. So they have 4 talks right now that they're highlighting. You can see that new to TED, redefining success, the autism spectrum, and how does my brain work. And you can see it tells you there are 9 talks that deal with the brain, 7 that deal with autism, 10 that are about success, and 11 that just are about if you're new to TED and here are some things you might want to know. What I like to do is scroll a little further. Not only can you browse like you can on all of their narrow the browse underneath the topic pull down menu, you can just scroll through and see that they have talks uh, set up here for you to find easily. So if I'm looking for youth talks, for example, I might go to TED Under 20, and this will have 13 talks by youth of America. You might be interested in things that are gross, and they have 12 talks on topics that are gross, and some of them are pretty great, actually, pretty great science talks. And if you're looking for kid talks, places to get started, they have this curated content just for kids. And if you scroll a little further, you'll see technology talks, and they have their specific topics listed: art and design, science, culture, global issues, and you can keep going through and browse through that at your leisure later. So playlists are a lot of, you can spend a lot of time, a lot of lost time browsing through those playlists. You can go to topics as well, and this is just another place to try and find topics on certain talks on certain topics, and might make your searching a little easier if you're looking for stuff for classrooms or connected to curriculum. So what I'd like to do now is to actually go into the TED-Ed channel. So underneath Watch, if you're following along, click on TED-Ed videos. And TED-Ed is a platform for taking one of the TED Talks or actually any YouTube video and doing what they call flipping it. And this is a way for you to have students engage in video lessons, but have them interact with the content as they're watching the video. So it's not just a sit and get on the video, but they can answer questions, they can participate in discussions, they can pause the video and participate. And so I want to share with you some of the TED-Ed resources that you'll find here. So first of all, on this home page, if you scroll down, you'll find featured TED-Ed videos, okay, as well as a link to explore further. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Explore TED-Ed site. And this is the home page that most people that have seen TED-Ed before are familiar with. And they highlight, if you click over the middle section, there's a lesson here on science and technology. There's one highlighted for mathematics, thinking and learning, and philosophy and religion this week. But if you scroll down, you'll see a link to take the TED-Ed tour. And this is a video I suggest you watch after we're done here, and it will walk you through how to create a lesson, why you might want to use their platform, and then a little further down, you'll see a breakdown of all of the parts of a TED-Ed lesson. I'm going to show you the parts by having you actually watch one of these. So where do I find TED-Ed content? There are two places I can find TED-Ed content to use. I can go to lessons and I can go to series. The nice thing about TED-Ed is I don't have to create my own content. I can actually use what's already been created by other editors, and I can do that just by clicking right on lessons. And you'll notice that you can narrow your lesson search by the different topics on the left-hand side, or you can just scroll through them and kind of see what matches the curriculum that you teach. And there are numerous pages, hundreds and hundreds of flipped lessons that you can use on your own. I'm also going to show you series before I actually show you what one flipped lesson looks like. If you go to series, it's very similar to playlists. They have taken flipped TED-Ed lessons that match a certain topic and have organized them for you to find easily. So I'm going to scroll down this page a little bit. I'm going to go to Awesome Nature. It's one of my favorite sections inside of TED-Ed. You'll find that these are all the science lessons that have been created. They highlight 9 in each of these playlists, but if you scroll down a little further, you'll see where it says View Full Series, and there are 51 lessons that have to do with awesome nature. So I'm going to go ahead and click on those 51 lessons. You can just kind of browse through and see the different kind of content. You'll notice that some of them are animated lessons and some of them are video lessons from either the TED website or YouTube channel. One thing that the TED-Ed platform will do is put great teachers in touch with animators, and if you have a great lesson, you can nominate your lesson to be animated, and the TED-Ed platform will work with you to create one of these animated lessons. You'll notice that there are numerous pages at the bottom as well to find all 51 of these flipped lessons. So I'm going to go to page 2 and scroll down because I stumbled upon this playlist. Where is it? There it is. This TED-Ed video called The Cockroach Beatbox. And I shared this at the recent USET conference because I just think it's fascinating what they do to this cockroach and attach it to sensors and actually have the legs, even when they're detached from the cockroach, still recognize the current from the beatbox. Anyway, when you have time, watch the whole thing, but I'll show you a little bit how this lesson works. At the very top, you'll see the introductory title. You'll see a message from the teacher saying we're going to begin by dissecting a cockroach, and you kind of set the stage for what this is going to help the students learn to do. You have the video that can play in the middle of the screen, and you have these sections that go down the side. This specific TED-Ed lesson only allows you to either watch the video, think about the video, so those are going to be questions, and then dig deeper into the video. But the TED-Ed platform has 5 different sections that you can add on. So let's go ahead and start. So if I were in the watch section, I would just be on this page and I would just be watching the video. This is similar to maybe having a flipped lesson online that your students watch, or maybe you are projecting this in the big screen in your classroom, and this is just the introductory part. The lesson is going to start, and I'm going to go ahead and pause it because we're not going to watch it because I know you can't hear it. But this is another one of those science lessons that I love where they actually show you how you can do this on your own and what tools you need to be able to do this. Now, that's very traditional. That's what we do with videos all the time. What the TED-Ed platform does that makes it so much, I think, nicer is has these other side categories that you can use. So I can click on Think. I can still watch the video over on the side here, and I'm just going to let this play for a minute. But while I am engaging in this content, I can take the quiz. You can see that this educator has set up numerous questions to have the students answer as they're watching this video. This is the first step of engagement, to make sure that students are paying attention while they're watching the video. And then the third thing that this educator has done is added a section called Dig Deeper. So this could be maybe your lesson plan that you want students to do. It could be your activity after they've watched the video. Here's what we're going to do in class. Here's what you have to do before you come back to class. You could use this in a number of ways. The other thing that is really nice about the TED-Ed platform is if I love this lesson, but maybe the language is too high for my students, maybe I'm an elementary teacher and I want to use this, but the websites that they use are more geared towards high school teachers, I can do what's called customize this lesson, and I can flip an already created lesson to meet my own needs, so I can reap the rewards of what someone else has created very easily. So that's kind of what they look like. And what I'd like to do is have us actually create a lesson. You'll notice that I'm already logged into my account, so you'll have to sign up for a TED-Ed account in order to create your own lessons. But the reason that this is so nice is that I can have my students also create an account, and I can see their progress through my lesson. I can see what they answered on my questions. I can see the discussion if I choose to use that part, and I can get data back on who was able to complete this assignment right inside of the TED-Ed website. So let's go ahead and, if you're following along, click on Create a Lesson. And the first thing that you'll do is find a video. You can search for any video by title, and I have a website that I use with Shauna Jensen for our conference presentations that I have some of this prepped already for us. So I went to conferences, USET 2014. The site is just called Learning with TED. It's a weebly.com website. And if you scroll down this page, there's a link to create your own flip. So if you don't want to have to search for content right now, you can just go through and copy and paste off of this page. And that's what I'm going to do today. So the first thing you're going to do is find a video. And I'm going to use this video called A 50-Cent Microscope That Folds. If you haven't seen this TED Talk, it's fabulous. And I'm going to go back to my TED-Ed page. Did I override my own? Oops, hold on. I'm just going back into the Explorer TED-Ed, and I'm going to be back at Create a Lesson. So the title that I'm going to search for is a 50-cent microscope that folds. And if I could type, that would be better. And it will search YouTube and find, or TED, and find the video. It works out better if you can preview these ahead of time. And I happen to know that this is the one that I want to use with this lesson, so I'm going to go ahead and just click on it and select it. At this point, now I can watch it and make sure that it's really what I want. And if it is, I click on Launch the Lesson Editor. At the very top here, I can edit my title. I could maybe say make your own, a 50-cent microscope that folds like origami. Here's where I can say today we are going to learn about and put in my message to my students. This could be an introductory message, it could be more detailed, it could just be have fun learning about the 50-cent microscope. But you can customize that. You'll notice that there are character limits in all of these sections, so you'll want to be aware of that before you start to do too much work. So that's watch. That's the first section. And here you can see we have think, dig deeper, a discussion section, and finally. And these were the two that the introductory video that I showed you did not include. And if I decided I didn't want to have an and finally section, I could just click on exclude. I can click on exclude on anything that I don't want to include. So I can just have students watch a video and then take the quiz to go along with the video. Or I can do more and include these other sections. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on think. On this section, you have two types of questions you can add in. You can add in a multiple choice question or an open-ended question. So I'm just going to come back to my page where I have some questions ready to go. So the first question is going to be just what does the microscope allow you to do? And I'm going to click on create question, type in my question, and click on add answers. Okay, so I can add in multiple answers like see tiny life forms, helps you to see the universe, whatever it is that you want your questions to be. You'll also notice that I time-stamped where this question was found in the video. And you want to do some of this work before you start designing inside of the lesson, because underneath create question, I can provide a timestamp to my students to know where they find this answer. So if they are taking my think questions and don't answer it properly, and they get an incorrect on the answer, it'll say, do you want to go to this part of the video and re-listen to this section? And so that's a really nice feature that you'll want to include on all of your questions. Then, so I've got my answers in. I can preview. Can't preview it till you tell it which one is correct. Then I can preview my question, and this is what it'll look like to the students. And then I save. And I can add in more questions, and you just keep going. I can add in an open-ended question. So underneath here I have a question for you, and this is a video stamped at 123. On the open-ended questions, I've noticed that sometimes you have to add in your own because it doesn't give you that choice. So I'm just going to put the timestamp in. And now I have two questions ready for my students to use. Okay. You can keep adding as many questions as you wanted to make the video as engaging as possible for your class. So the third section is the dig deeper section. I think of this as your lesson plan section. This is where you're going to put the information of what you want students to do during this lesson. And if I click on, just going to highlight all of this just so you can kind of see what this will look like inside of here. It's a very simple wiki editor. You'll see you can only do bold, italics, and underline. You can add images in and links, and that's about it. So after you watch the video, explore the following websites, or whatever it is that you are hoping your students will do. And I copied a little bit too much. Okay, a question just popped up about where do the students' answers go? And I'll show you what that looks like after we finish building this lesson. Okay, so the next section is the discuss section. And this is where you can add in a discussion question. So I'm just typing in a question like, why would microscopes be useful to you personally? Maybe students have an idea of how they would use microscopes in their own life. And then you can add this discussion. In our district in Canyons, we use Canvas discussions. And so what I would probably do here is I would list the question title, but then I would paste in a link to the Canvas discussion so that I could grade that discussion. So if you use Edmodo or any other type of online learning management system, you could link this discussion section directly to the management system you use, or even if it's just a blog post and you prefer that students would write on a blog, you could put that link in this section. And just save and preview. Oops. Did you see what I forgot to do? I forgot to click add this discussion. and then save and preview. Okay. Okay, and then finally is a great section to put in resources for students who are maybe done early and need additional work. So just to tie along with this, I just have a couple of web links that has various pictures, images of other things underneath the microscope that they could look at. So I love my lesson. This is exactly what I want. I'm going to include all 5 sections, and then I'm going to click Publish. I could click Preview first, but for time, I'm just going to click Publish now. And this is what it will look like once you've published it. You have a couple of things on this section, this site right here, that are important to know about. This is how you'll come back to edit it, and I'll show you where that edit is. You can easily share them to social networking sites. You can copy this link right here and paste it into your own class website or paste it into Canvas. The only thing that's sad about the TED-Ed videos lessons, flipped lessons, is that you can't embed them. There's no embed code to put this right into your Canvas page. And I think that's because they want students to log in so that the data can actually be tracked. Or you can just, email that out. So once your lesson is created, this is your page that shows you all of your flipped lessons that you have made. And you can come back to this little gear here to get back to this spot. Okay. So I'm going to go to a lesson I did earlier with my students. It's a 12-year-old app developer TED Talk that I wanted my computer programming students to watch. I have 24 students at the time. And right here is where you would see their work that they had submitted. So I only had 2 questions. One of them linked out to the uh, um, Canvas discussion. This is one we did in October, and you can see that there were 2 questions, and you can see how the students did. So this student did 1 out of the 2. This looks really silly because I have them use superhero names rather than their own name whenever they do anything online. It's a middle school class, and so that's why it kind of looks like it's silly data, but I know who they are. And so that's all of the information that you get. You can also review their responses. So if you had open-ended questions, you can see what they answered. And this is what I like most. You can come in here and click on the very bottom of all your results, Excel spreadsheet, where then you can manipulate their answers however you like. And so you get every single thing that they submitted. And I think that let me just go back one page and see if there's anything else. There is this new section. One last thing, I know we're running out of time, that I want to show you is the TED-Ed clubs. And this is how you can bring TED-Ed to your schools. They have a lot of great ideas here on how to use TED-Ed Talks and how to get students involved in even creating some of these themselves. So thank you so much for letting me share. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions for the next couple of minutes.
Well, that was great, Rachel. Thanks. I'm not sure we have any questions. You answered my question. Do you see a lot of your teachers using these resources, Rachel?
Yep, we had one teacher after one of our USET presentations went back. It was March Madness time, and he had students creating these, and they actually peer reviewed each other's TED-Ed flipped lessons, and they did it in a bracket style. So kind of like the basketball teams are pitted against each other. He had the same kind of thing down to the very best TED-Ed flipped lesson that the students created. So not only are teachers using this for content for their students, they're having students create them for each other, and I think that's one of the real powerful things of it.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea and a fun way to do it as well. All right, great, Rachel. We're going to wrap up. Thank you very much for taking the time out to present for us. Just a reminder, I'm going to stop sharing your screen here, Rachel. Just to remind everyone, we are about done with the Faculty Lounge for this year. I've got a PowerPoint to pull up here quick so you can kind of see. Let's see here. So next week is our last week for before we stop for the summer break. And we have a couple of guest presenters, and you can see their names are Beth and Tracy. Unfortunately, I forgot their last names. And they're going to talk about the CI Water Project. And that's a big project. CI, for those of you who don't know, stands for Cyber Infrastructure. So a big STEM project, lots of resources for teachers and students there, and they're going to share all of those with us next week. So hopefully you can stop by again. With that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks again, Rachel, and we hope to see you next week.